talking about the piece Our First Duet, and we will also be talking about the repeater. The example that I just played was me playing the accompaniment part to Our First Duet and also singing the melody along, just because I don't have anybody else here, so I may as well make the duet be my own duet. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the melody. There are a few things going on. We are going to continue exploring that high A, and I'm going to introduce a couple of different concepts as far as getting up there is concerned. And then we'll also talk about some of the accompaniment parts, because in the book it says the student will be required to play both parts later. I would just start working on them now. I think that with the work that we've done so far, I think that you might not be able to get it right away, but I think that it's all completely manageable. So it starts off pretty easy. Excuse me, I've been singing that. Now we're in time. So just trying to make those notes be as full as possible. It's nothing that we haven't done so far, as far as reading and as far as all the stuff is concerned. So it's kind of all the same stuff. Then on the second line, we start on an F. And that's one of the parts that I really want to focus on as far as playing the melody is concerned. So the first thing that I'm going to practice is I want to be able to get up there clean, so to speak. And you can kind of see that my finger is already reaching toward that space, even though I'm not quite playing it. My finger is, and I'm not just... I don't even know if I can do that with one finger. Right, we're beyond that point at this point in the book. And just talking more about some of those little A minor ideas that we were talking about yesterday, or the last time that you watched a video. The same thing with the D minor stuff. And you see what I just did right there as I kind of slid into it? That's kind of one of the little techniques that I want to talk about. It's a technique, it's an effect, right? So you don't want, with any kind of technique or effect, you don't want to do it all the time, because then it kind of seems like you can't do anything else, that you can only slide into that note. You want to be able to grab it clean too. But you see how I switched my position by sliding into that A and then back into the G with my index finger. And if you are doing it like that, I wouldn't recommend switching that position back on the pinky finger. What I would end up doing is I would go either pinky finger or the ring finger into the G. Then we have the open B that kind of bridges us into that last spot. We have just that split second of time. Right, so that's kind of, I mean, it's a pretty basic thing. It's pretty pretty much the same thing that we've been doing so far, and we've been playing a lot of these as duets anyway. But this is really kind of the first time, quote unquote, in the book that the teacher is playing a really specific part and the student is playing a part that harmonizes with it, and vice versa, of course. So let's go through it and play it together. We'll do it without the metronome. 1, 2, 3, 4. So next, let's go ahead and introduce or have me play the accompaniment part along with you playing the melody. And that's really what the big point here is to be able to play this along with somebody else. So do feel free to play along if that's something that you want to do. And then afterward, we'll talk about the accompaniment part a little bit. That was actually a rotten count off for me, so let me actually count that off one more time. 1, 2, here we go. Time. Very cool. So let's go ahead and talk about the accompaniment part. Like I was saying, I think that at this point in the book, you should be pretty good and prepared to at least start working through the bottom part. I think that it gives you a great practice as far as like reading the ledger lines. That's always helpful, especially in the lower positions. I mean, we only have a few choices, but it is always good to practice that before being asked to do it at some point. So it's the same thing that we were talking about a couple days ago. So if we have either the Come By Here opening notes or Michael Row the Boat Ashore opening notes, that's C, E, and G. And then we also have the opening notes of Red River Valley. And if we combine those, we have our C major chord. If you're new to playing this, we are playing little lines in between our chords. Right? But you'll notice that when I'm playing those little, like our little bass lines in between our chords, that I'm not taking my fingers off of the C major chord. So the next thing to talk about, measure 3 in this piece, with the B in the bass. This is actually, I believe that this is a typo in the book. I believe that this should be actually a G major chord. What's written is they have a B in the bass, E, G, C, and E, right? And that just doesn't quite make is that right? Yeah, it is. I mean, it sounds kind of cool, but I don't think that I don't think it's what's intended, especially with the harmony. It just makes more sense for that to be a G chord. So the way that I'm playing that is B in the bass, D, G, and then I just have my highest melody note in my top, which is a D. So B, D, G, D. So we'll want to practice that a little bit. Chord to talk about is kind of your half G7 chord. You have a D, a G, a B, and an F. And you're also, this is a great practice for like accuracy with playing those kind of bass run ideas. Our first duet. So our next little duet in the book is called the repeater. What we're doing is we're introducing the repeat sign. You'll notice at the end of the piece you have those 2 double dots. What that's telling you to do is go back to the beginning of the piece and play it again. I use this as an opportunity, especially this one. Both teacher and student should be playing both parts here. This is a perfect opportunity for us to play opposite parts, meaning the first time we do it, the student is going to be on the top and I'll be on the bottom. And then when we take that repeat, we're going to actually switch it, and teacher on the top, student on the bottom. So let's go ahead and try that together. I'm going to play the opposite part. So I'm going to start with the bottom, and you start with the top, and then we'll switch. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Great, so that's a pretty simple one, so I'm just going to throw that in at the end, but mess around with it. If you feel like singing one of the parts and playing the other, that's a great exercise for this, especially with the bass line, with the teacher part. It's the same thing both times. Again. So that's just the same thing twice. So singing that's another great little practice if you're trying to learn how to sing and play at the same time, and especially, kind of fun stuff like not just strumming the chords, but singing a line and playing a line that harmonizes with it. Kind of fun. So I'm just going to throw that little idea in. Next week is an exciting week. We're at an exciting time in the book. Next week we are talking all about chords. So look forward to that with Our First Duet. If you're not up to speed with playing the chords the way that I'm doing in the video, that's okay. We're working on working them up. So start now, and rather than starting later at this point in the book, for sure. So if you have any questions or ideas, feel free to leave those in the comments. If you're watching these videos, I don't really like doing the whole please subscribe to my channel thing, but if you enjoy the content you're watching and you're here, feel free to hit the subscribe button. It always helps, and it's always good to make sure I know who's a friend. But I guess everybody's a friend, so even if you don't, welcome. You're still welcome to be here. We're still friends. Anyway, see, it's always so awkward. So subscribe if you want to, like the video if you want to, all that stuff, and I'll see you next week. Thanks. Bye.